Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 7 of the Let's Learn Awake guitar series. Today we'll be talking about a song that is about resisting temptation, subsequently outlining the various pitfalls associated with addiction. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we are all addicts. Whether it's food, weed, alcohol, cocaine, crystal meth, television, we all need some form of sustenance to get through the day. Now we all might not be the same type of addict. Some of us might need different things. However, I will say that every one of you watching this video has the same type of irrational and visceral need for one thing. And that is figuring out every single note, every single time change, every single chord progression on this full, detailed musical analysis of The Mirror by Dream Theater. Let's get it. The Mirror is the 7th song on Dream Theater's Awake album, so you know what that means. 7th song equals 7th string. We need a low B string on our guitar. If you don't have one, you might as well just be a puppy on acid. The introduction is probably one of the most iconic Dream Theater intros, as it explicitly features the 7-string guitar in the most overt manner that you can possibly imagine. It just hits an open B power chord in a sequence. Now, there's not too much to say about what's actually being played, it's just an open B power chord. However, there are many different timing intricacies, and of course, Kevin Moore adds some amazing harmony up top. The introduction starts off with a pick scrape coming down a 4th fret harmonic like this, and then goes into this rhythm, a measure of 4/4 and a measure of 3/4. 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN, 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, and then it changes immediately. That first change, which is not an itty-bitty change, this is a massive change, a very abrupt change, goes from simple meter to compound meter. Simple meter is when you have a measure divisible by 2. Compound meter is when you have a measure divisible by 3. So it's more like a triplet feel, like this. Triplet, oh let trip, oh triple, triplet, oh let trip, oh triple, triplet, oh let trip, oh triple, triplet, oh let trip, oh triple. That rhythm continues on for 4 measures, and thus far we only have this guitar part as being the star of the show, until this section. Check this out. The guitar part is going back to the very first part that we played. 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN. Just 4 to the floor, just like that, for 7 full measures, okay? But on the last one, we're going to do a measure of 2/4, followed by a measure of 9/8. So check this out. 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, Here, I'm going to go right to the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That measure of 9 actually offsets the beat and flips the rhythm around completely. By hitting that extra note at the end, it gives us an opportunity to get back into compound meter like that. And I think that's absolutely genius. Kevin Moore is in on that section as well, with a single note synth line. Now we know how much Kevin Moore loves single note synth lines, don't even get me started. Watch the earlier episodes and you'll find out. The synth line utilizes 3 fundamental melodic devices. The B minor scale proper, a B minor blues with the flat 5th, we'll talk about that more a little bit later because that is brought back into the fold, and the Phrygian mode. So we have this flat 2, flat 5 type of idea going on. So that would look something like this. B minor proper, little sus resolution, blues, oops, back to B minor, blues, and Phrygian, and it keeps going. going until it's over. Coming out of that, we hit a double time section where it features the exact same guitar riff but in a slightly different rhythm, and we also have Kevin Moore's keyboards on top playing the organ, so he's just playing chords on top of the static B. So here's the Petrucci part. A one, a two, a three, a four, a one, a two, a three, a four, a one, a two, a three, a four, a one, a two, a three. Pretty easy. Nothing to say about that guitar part except it's brutally easy, Mr. Petrucci. But there's a lot to say about Kevin Moore's keyboard part, so let's get into that real fast. He's playing a chord progression where we have a B minor, which is the 1 chord, an F sharp, which is the major 5 chord, and then he goes right to a D minor, which that's the minor 3, resolving up to the B minor once again. Now the minor 3 can also turn this into a half diminished 7th chord, alright? And a half diminished 7th chord by itself sounds like this. So it has a very ominous sound to it. Maybe that's what he was going for. After we hit that B minor resolution, we come back into the D minor to create that half diminished. And then on top of the B, we're now hitting a C sharp diminished. Wow, look at that. So we're creating a C sharp diminished on top of a B, which is the 2 chord on top of the root note. And then we hit it to a first inversion D minor chord, going to an F chord, which is actually D minor 7, and then right into the B to create that diminished sound, just a straight up tritone. The final portion of the introduction is also by far the most intense part of the introduction. We are getting into some extreme double bass, double kick patterns that will just rattle your brain into oblivion and will probably give you some crippling addiction. The low rhythm guitar of this section is very simple. It just lays down a low fundamental B progression like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And then you just chromatically descend from the note A all the way down to E like this. And that's it, just right on that beat, and then you're done. The top part is much more interesting. We actually have some pretty technical stuff to play. John Petrucci finally decided to show up to the songwriting session. Sheesh. He hasn't been of much help throughout this introduction so far, but here he is. We come in as a response to the low B on the rhythm guitar, and we play this. On the 2nd and 3rd fret, a Lydian mode, right? Major. With a trill this time, 6, 4, 6, 8, 9, 9. We come in with unison on that low chromatic line, okay, joining in the rhythm guitar, and then we hop up an octave. Tons of vibrato. Bend here, then a dive bomb on the A. Now that A is the flat 7, which means we have a Lydian dominant mode. Now this is the coolest thing. Usually in the Lydian mode we have an A sharp, but here we have an A natural, which is a flatted 7th. A very tense moment here. If you play an A on top of a B with a sharp 4th, it goes like this. Watch. That's what you're getting out of this. So that's why I'm so enthralled by this section. So a nice dive bomb too to really seal the deal. We come back in like this, more trills, then we just come in on a high octave of the same notes that are going on underneath. So overall, not a very complex part to this piece of music, but it does utilize some very interesting tones. the Lydian mode, and the Lydian dominant mode at that. So, wow, what do you think, huh? That's some pretty incredible stuff. So we're out of the intro, and I just have some final thoughts. Kevin Moore is the star of the show here. I know John Petrucci likes to take all the credit because he was doing this on the guitar. Come on, anybody can do that on the guitar. Even Kevin Moore could do that on the guitar. Even John Mayone could do that on the guitar. Even James LaBrie could probably do it, damn it. But check this out. Kevin Moore is making a lot of interest out of one very simple idea. He's making a lot out of very little. Now, usually in real life, we'd call that making mountains out of molehills, and you ordinarily don't want to do that. But with a song, when you're trying to create drama, you're trying to create a scene, a feeling, something that people can reel in for years to come, that's what it's all about. Coming out of that intro, we're hit with this haphazard transition into the verse, which delivers more of this. Bum, bum, dun, 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 dun. So you're hitting one set of 2 dun-duns and 3 sets of 3 dun-duns. And then we finally hit into the verse section, which goes like this. B, D, that little rhythm. And then F, C, 2, 3, back into compounds. Right? We appear to be hitting the root note, B, the third, which is D, and then it goes up to an E. Okay, so we go 1, 3 to 4, and we come back to the root. We hit an F, which is the flat 5, and then the C, which is the flat 2. Now, I don't know if you noticed something, but back in the introduction, we outlined those exact chord tones, or at least Kevin Moore did. Now John Petrucci is getting privy to the idea that maybe we need a song with our chugs. Now we must talk about the rhythm to this section. It's in a 12/8 time signature, which is a compound meter, so everything is a triplet 4. Da 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 da, just like that. But at the very end, we hit this rogue measure of 3/4 when we get to the C chord. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and then right back into the compound meter. So we're shifting between compound meter and simple meter within a measure and then going right back. So that's a big time repetitive theme to this track. We're going between simple and compound meter very abruptly. Maybe it's to indicate the mood swings that Mike Portnoy was going through during this time. Someone's got to get him a tampon. Now, just like with any Dream Theater song, the magic comes in with Kevin Moore's keyboard part, and we don't even realize it. We start off with B minor on the 1 with these intervals. Then we come up to a D minor, a minor 3 chord, leading up to B again, B5. Now this time we hit a D5 on top of a B. Now this is amazing because it's a very creative way of using yet again that D chord to lead into something else. Now it's not a D minor necessarily because B minor has an F sharp in it. We're still on the B minor chord, but he's utilizing that D idea to use the same type of thing but not a D minor. Okay, so it creates a feeling of familiarity without it being totally the same, which is absolutely amazing. We continue on by taking the top note of the D5, which is an A, keeping it the same, and then dropping down the root to a C to create an F chord. Wow, and guess what? We hit an F on the bottom. And then of course we just drop down the A to a G, keeping the C static on the bottom. And one last thing about this first verse riff, at the very end this time, instead of just hitting a measure of 3/4, we add an extra 16th note or 8th note depending on how you want to count it. It would be an 8th note if it's double time and a 16th note if we keep the count consistent. But it goes like this. Bah! So you got to hit that extra C right before you go into the open B coming in on the next section. This little instrumental break that happens here features the low guitar power chords, a little bit of a chord progression, and Kevin Moore's keyboards once again. So we're going to talk about that in detail. but check it out first. So the guitar part, once again, is mostly playing power chords, just holding out chords for a full length of a measure. So check this out. We have B, 1, 2, 3, 4, C sharp, 1, 2, 3, 4, D, this little lick, back to B, an F tritone going down to a C sharp, and then this run. Whoa, C. And then back to B right at the end there. That lick coming off the D power chord, it's a B blues lick. So we're hitting the open B string, pulling off from the 3rd fret, and then bending on the 5th fret, half step bend, and then coming back down, right into a B. Coming into that other moving section right after we hit that C sharp, we hit this. This is like an E going between a tritone and a perfect 5th, but separating the notes. So you have E, the 5th down below, and then going up to a B flat up top. Very cool sound. Do the same thing. Come up a half step from there, come back down a half step, repeat it, and then we come down to the C chord. Now chord-wise, the keyboards really give this part away, okay? So we're starting off with a B minor, okay? So on top of that big B, that's just 3, 2, 1 on a B minor triad. And then we move it up to C sharp, which is the same idea, just moved up a whole step. But instead of making it diminished, we're playing a regular power chord, so the 5th is natural. And we're also doing a Phrygian mode, okay? So we're going 3 flat 2 to 1. So this is a C sharp Phrygian. Coming off that, we hit this odd type of thing. B, F, D. So that's like a diminished almost, or it feels like a diminished, but melodically it's still going C sharp to B. So what this is telling me is we're embracing a D melodic minor, because this is when the guitar is on the D down at the bottom. We're going like this. You have the flat 3rd, the major 6th, and the major 7th. That's melodic minor. Very eerie sounding. As if that wasn't enough, we come right into this. Alright? Now on the onset, it seems like a D Lydian, because you have the flat 5th, the major 3rd, and the regular 5th, but it's not a D Lydian. It's on top of a B. So we're embracing the flat 3rd and the root note, but then we're going like this. That's a G sharp. That's the natural 6th to the B. Okay, so we're actually embracing a Dorian mode at this point in time. So we just went from D melodic minor to B Dorian in a split second, just like that. Perfectly executed, by the way. For the F tritone, we're hitting this, which is a straight up F Lydian mode. Okay, so we're going from B Dorian to F Lydian, and then immediately after that we're going to a C sharp Mixolydian, which is the flat 7 and the major 3rd. Same 2 notes. It's interesting how F and B can have different functions depending on what the chord is on the bottom. In this case, it's the major 3rd, which would actually be an E sharp, and the flat 7 on top, going to the root. And then in between, we're hitting a natural 6, so that's C sharp Mixolydian. And we're not done yet. We have one more part to get through, which is this crazy. Now that's going over the E tritones on the bottom, which makes sense, because we're going B flat to E, to B natural, C natural, so we're going the flat 6, back down, and then right after that we hit the C. Wow. Now I want to take a little moment to talk about that real quick. It's a C arpeggio in first inversion, followed by this, which has nothing to do with C. We're just replacing the C up top of the C sharp, and we continue that up to D, and then resolve immediately to C. But check this out. It has a familiar vibe to it. It's almost as if we're playing a line cliche up an E minor triad, like the James Bond theme, but we're playing it on top of the C chord instead, right? And then immediately resolving in that specific manner that Kevin Moore decided to do. But I think that's very interesting that we put the James Bond theme right in the middle of this. We continue on bringing about the main theme again, right? How can we live without that? We can't at this point. It's the mirror. We need that chug, chug, chug. We come back into the verse again, and as soon as we're done playing the verse, no funny business this time. No extra 16th note at the end. We just go straight up 3-4 on the C, right into the chorus, which goes like this. Very heavy. Too heavy. Unbearably heavy. Essentially, we've migrated from B minor into E minor, so we're playing the chorus on the 4 chord now. With that shape happening, right? We're going from this minor 6 to a perfect 5th with the E on the bottom, right? So that's E add 9, down to this, D to E, which is a flat 7, and then we always go like this. We do a 3-2-1 coming back into it, so just a little passing tone there, and then we do this. So that right there is a B flat, but a really, really chunky B flat. We have even the low B string on that too. Hear how heavy that is? It's B flat going to A, flat 5 to 4 on top of an E. All of this is over E. The entire chorus is basically an E chord. And then we hit this blues run. You see that? Let me play that slow. E, E, A, G, F, down to D. All right, now how do we explain this? Well, I'll say it's a combination between an E blues and a B blues, because we're hitting A to G, which is the 4 to the flat 3rd of the E, and then we're coming down to the F to the D. That's more of like a B blues, because you're hitting the flat 5th, which is that blue note, to the flat 3rd, but we're immediately going back into E. So this is kind of like an E Phrygian as well, but let's not convolute the waters too much. We continue on by doing this. E to E, with these little things in between. B flat, F, so flat 2, back into this, flat 2. So we're just outlining the flat 5 and the flat 2 mostly, and then coming back into the 1, which is a common theme for this song. Think of how many times we went to F and then C in the key of B. That's the flat 5 and the flat 2 for that key. Now we're just doing it in E. This next section is very, very interesting because John Myung is keeping with this theme, going under the entire section. Now you would never know because you can barely hear it in the mix, but that's what's happening. It's a pedal B on the bottom of the entire section. The guitar is running through a series of volume swells, then a clean part, and then a double clean part that goes between the right and the left speaker. So there's 3 different guitar techniques being used in this same section. Oh, wait a minute, there's also an acoustic guitar at the end. That's 4. I lied. So I'm going to do this out of order a little bit, and I'm going to go through the keyboard part first before we even listen to it, okay? Because I want to break it up into sections, but here's the keyboard part that goes all the way through. Starts off with a B minor, just 2 notes for this entire section on each one. F sharp, which is the 5 chord, D minor, minor 3rd chord, resolve, B minor, 1. F tritone, flat 5, okay. C sharp minor, okay. C, and then F, which is your flat 5 again. So you have flat 2 going to flat 5, very interesting. And what's even more interesting are that these chords remain relatively consistent throughout the entire song. Aside from 1 or 2 little rogue differences, we're hitting the same exact chords as some of the earlier progressions. If you remember the organ part from the beginning, that's exactly what this is, right? Except that's a tritone, that's a C sharp minor, which is the 2 chord, just a regular minor 2 chord, going to a flat 2, which is a very Radiohead move, by the way. So now let's get into the volume swells. Let's check out what that first part sounds like with just the guitar and the keyboard. So for this part we have volume swells running through 4 different chords, okay? And we go like this. We have a B minor 9, okay, at the 7th fret of the low E string. We have an F sharp with an added 11th and the flatted 7th, that open string F sharp. And then we go over here, a D minor and 9 at the 5th fret there with the open E string. So it's basically like playing a D minor chord with the open E on top. And then we swell back in with a regular B minor chord. You want to add a little bit of grit to this tone as well. The second part of this is just a regular clean guitar arpeggiating different notes of the chords. Check out how it sounds with the keyboards. So we're coming in hard and hot with an F tritone, so we're halfway through this progression like this. Then we hit him with a C sharp minor, but starting at the D string, okay? Arpeggiating like that. C sus2, F sus2, and there are your arpeggios. I must also add that John Myung changes the functionality here a little bit. He's still playing the same rhythm a la the mirror, but he's off of the B pedal tone. So it goes like this. F to C sharp, watch, to an E, and then to a C. Now what's interesting is on the E, we're playing a C chord on top. So that's a first inversion flat 2 chord. Underneath the F, he's playing a C, so that turns it into a second inversion chord. So a lot of tension is being added with the bass line not quite following the root notes. So now we get into the fun part of this little instrumental section. It's a call and response between 2 guitars. So John Petrucci is of course playing both of them, but one starts on the right side of the speaker spectrum, the other goes to the left side, so there's some panning involved. So it's a call on the right to a response on the left, which then later flips around to a call on the left and a response on the right. It's like I'm talking politics here. That was pretty cool, right? Let's go over the call, the initial call guitar. A stacked fifths B minor 9. 4 times. To a D power chord. E power chord, alright? So 1, 3, 4. Same thing. Do the lower half of an F sus2, C, and then we do this. And then we stop, and we become the response guitar to the left speaker's call. 1. Do it 4 times. 1. 1. So as long as you're on the response, you're going to be okay with that part. And just pay attention to those shapes, okay? Very interesting ways of moving through those chord progressions. The initial response guitar follows that same rhythm I just explained, starting in on the of that first beat, and we're playing this shape. This is a B minor 9, add 11. Then we go like this. D minor 9, 3 times, then this, E5, back, same thing, 4 times, and then we do this. Hold it, then we become the call. Check that out. Outline in the first part. Then we go here. It's all part of the same chord structure. Then we come in with the low. When you put it together, that's when the magic really happens. Now, You could play all of these together if you want, you know, but you're just going to be killing yourself with this. Check this out. That is a crazy shape. Nobody wants to stretch out like that, but we're going to try. I can barely even get that out, so that's probably why he plays it like that. You could also do it like this if you wanted to do it with one guitar. See? But then again, don't be a little bitch. Stretch it out like this and make the mistakes. You filthy animal. Obviously, we can't go a full song without breaking out our Woody, correct? I'm correct. We have an acoustic guitar at the very tail end of this clean section, so it's kind of interesting how we have 4 drastically different guitar sounds happening in one little bit. But let me take you through what's going on here. So we come in like this. Not as heavy on an acoustic. We have a B minor bar chord, but it's not a normal B minor bar chord. We have to hold it like this, okay? You have your bar, your pointer finger on the 7th fret, just like that. And then we have to use our middle finger and our ring to play the power chord on top of that. So you have 7, 9, 9, 7, 7, 7. Now, your pinky is going to act as this G agent, the G man. And you're going to add the G right next to it on the 10th fret, and you're going to go like this. And release. Mirroring Kevin Moore's part. Mirroring. And then we go into this. F sus2 resolving to an F major chord. You just use this incomplete bar chord. It's not a bar chord. You just, the middle 4 strings are fine. Don't have to use anything else. And then we just go to a regular C chord. Oh, thank God. I never thought I'd see the day where a regular C chord would come into play. Even the Silent Man didn't have a regular C chord, it had a C add 9, Goo Goo Dolls chord. The next 2 sections are very familiar. We're coming back in with the Kevin Moore Arpeggio Extravaganza over this part. We all know the part, right? After that, we do another chorus, which is exactly identical, with a tiny little retardando coming in at the end, right? And we hit probably the most beautiful section of the entire song. It's a song that's not even part of this song. It's another song within this song, and it's one of the best moments of the entire piece. Go figure. Check this out. That sounds familiar. I knew you'd like that. Space Dive Vest, one of the best songs I think I've ever heard in my entire life. A Kevin Moore masterpiece. And apparently the inspiration for that song came from a color scheme he saw in a magazine, a clothing magazine. Really, Kevin Moore? You were looking in a clothing magazine trying to get your rocks off? You are a sick... But anyway, the guitar is just going like this. At least the rhythm guitar is. To a G, open G, and just go back and forth between the 2, hit it again. So it's just a 1 to flat 6 chord back and forth. That's all it is. Very simple. Thank you, Kevin Moore. There's also a lead guitar on the top there. It just plays octaves of the melody to Space Dive Vest, so check it out. All in B minor. Pretty easy. I almost don't want it to end. In fact, I don't want it to end, but it's going to have to come to an end. However, I have slightly more analysis to give to this. So let's take a look at the intervals on top. We start off on a B, that's the root note, going up a 4th, resolving into the 3rd, to the 2, 5th. Now, what's interesting is this next resolution. We hit a C sharp on top of a G, which creates this, which is a tritone right on that downbeat, a tritone on the strong beat. So they just went for it. Kevin Moore's mind is full of so much tension that he needed to get a tritone right on the downbeat, but it sounds beautifully melodic because it's part of the Lydian mode. And we just continue on with the same motif on top of the G chord instead, which is basically a major sixth to a fifth, and then the sharp 4. And the B is actually the major third, so it remains relatively consonant except for that C sharp on top of the G. Woo! So after we play the most beautiful section of the song, we're greeted with the setup to the next track, but it's still part of the mirror, so we're going to cover it in this video. It starts with a bass riff on the low B string going between the flat 6 to the 5th, and then finally chromatically to the flat 5th. Very simple pattern. After a couple times through, the bass is joined with the keyboard. Along with that bass line, we're greeted with the same old keyboard part from that bridge that had the 4 different guitar sounds, but this time we have just that bass line underneath. Same exact function. 1 for the B minor, F sharp 5, let's speed this up. D minor, B minor, tritone, C sharp minor, C major, and F, all over that B pedal, just like it happened before. So very, very, very cool. The guitar comes in halfway through with a highly unconventional part. Tons of delay and reverb and a lot of chaotic movements. Check this out. We start off with a swell on a low B, big volume swell, little dive here. We come up, whatever fret this is, we're going to whammy it, wank it, minor second, what? And then we come down, dive down, and then we're going to do this. Huge! Oh! Wow! I can't hold that anymore. Guess what? My bowels just released. I'm going to go take a break. Alright, I'm back for a diarrhea-inducing riff. Here you go. The last riff of the song goes like this. Just with power chords. Palm you. You want to have your pointer down on the low B string and make that extra heavy. Check this out. Wow. That is ridiculous. It makes it unbelievably heavy. Your neighbors are going to want to move away and go to a faraway land where there's no noise. In fact, they're probably going to chop their ears off too while they're at it. And of course, we come into the end with yet another riff going like this. Little natural harmonic on the 3rd fret. Little death clock. Second double stop going to a unison note. We have the 3rd fret and the open B string, which creates a minor second like this. Very dissonant, but if you bend the G into the B, it makes it sound nice and consonant. It gives it a very cool type of tone. Woo! It's hot in here. So now let's put all of those parts together. The bass is still playing that same riff over and over again. Kevin Moore's coming in with a synth line, and the guitar is doing that cool motorcycle bump thing on the 3rd fret artificial natural harmonic. So enjoy that, and then I'll meet you on the other side for a little pep talk. Alright everybody, I hope you enjoyed episode number 7 of this series. I'm going to keep on going until I get to the bitter end. We're a little more than halfway through, and you know, I'm kind of thankful because this is a frickin' doozy. This is a tough album to get through, but very interesting. I'm learning a lot about this band, especially Kevin Moore. You know, I realize why he was such a recluse at this time. The other band members didn't want anything to do with him because he was just too crazy. Another note of speculation about Kevin Moore. I think he got tired of carrying John Petrucci's lazy guitar parts, Because let's face it, this, what do you do with that for an entire minute? Well, Kevin Moore set the record straight and said, well, we got to make something out of this. We got to make something out of nothing here. And I think he got tired of constantly carrying that weight all throughout their career. Kevin Moore was also famously ridiculed on the Howard Stern show way back in the day when he was still on terrestrial radio. Someone had suggested that they play The Mirror, and he was listening to part of it. He liked the guitar and the drums, but he said, crassly, "Fire the organ player." Oh my goodness, that must have just tore through his soul right there to hear somebody so famous callously saying something like that. Unbelievable, unbelievable. And you know, I liked Howard Stern back in the day, but now he's kind of boring. Now I feel like he became everything that he hates. You're better off listening to old Opie and Anthony shows, because they were a superior radio show anyway. Anyway, let's close this video out. Thank you so much for coming on this journey. If you want to support the channel, go to www.subscribestar.com/RomanOva Music. You can make a monthly contribution. I also have a PayPal tip jar where you can make a one-time contribution. If you like what you see and you want to see more of it, that's going to guarantee that this keeps happening. Otherwise, you know, I'm not going to be able to do this forever, okay? So, just letting you know. But I really enjoy the support I've been getting so far. It's been great, and it's going to continue to be great. I'll see you on the next one, and Godspeed.